Just do it, they say. Seemingly like that's the only way to gain his experience is you actually go out and do something. Although I believe that you can watch others doing something and then maybe have conversations with them about it, and then you can gain some of their experience, which would be a little bit different than yours. We've been talking about watching others all week. And today we are going to have a conversation about watching others, gaining experience, and much more. All of that on episode 930 of today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote provides an opportunity for business owners and leaders to discover what is real for them and to be impacted by what is real for others. That is the Renegade way. Let's get real. We all face challenges and get stuck occasionally and are looking for an antidote. Each weekday, this show dives into a topic that may have you stuck, frustrated, and uncertain. Our goal is to share our value in an effort to help you find that one thing, the antidote to your challenges, so that you can get results and make more money. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey, Tom.
Good morning, Bob. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing well, thanks.
Nice of you to wear orange today because the Orioles have a big game tonight in Texas. They have to win.
They do. What's going to happen in this town if they don't?
I would think they'll come home and there'll be people trying to go to the airport to see them or back to the stadium to see them and wish them off late at night tonight.
Wish them off?
You know, like you had a great season, clap and cheer at the stadium when they get back from the flight back.
You think that'll happen?
That they'll lose tonight?
No, that people would go out and do that.
I do. I do. I actually, I'm a graduate of Towson University, and one time their team was in the national championship, I don't know, 8-10 years ago, and they lost to a powerhouse, I want to say like Nebraska or North Dakota. They came back from the trip out to wherever the game was, and I was there early in the morning cheering for the Towson Tigers.
And you think that'll happen?
Baltimore's one of those towns. You know, they care about their teams. Who knows? I might actually go.
There you go. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. They've been so fired up about this team.
It's been a long time.
I understand. And I imagine the disappointment will be significant.
I don't think so. I mean, what I see is the opportunity to learn from it and get better next year. So they will gain experience. I saw an interview yesterday with Adley Rushman where he said after the game they lost Sunday that this is all new to them and they're just trying to figure it out. And they asked him, what would they do different? And he said, we're just figuring it out as we go. So they don't have the experience of being on a playoff team. They don't have the experience of the fact that the fans are in the game all game. It's not like they cheer for the first inning and then they sit down and they get quiet and chit chat. They're standing a lot. Every play matters more than usual. So they're gaining that experience. And I think it's the same in business. I had a teacher years ago who said to me that everything is just something done over again. There's nothing new under the sun. What he didn't say that I would add is, while it may have been done previously, it was never done by me previously. So I have to learn from I can, if I choose, learn from others' experiences. So I can read books about people who did things similar to me. I can watch YouTube videos. I had to do some caulking over the weekend, and I know how to caulk, but I wasn't sure what to do with a certain thing. So I watched a YouTube video, and that person basically showed me what to do, and I used their experience and then overlaid it onto my experience. I was thinking last night about recipes. Now, a recipe is really someone gained the experience. They figured out the right ingredients to get it so that it's tastes the way that we all accept it to taste. And that saves me the time of going, how much nutmeg should I put in my pie? How much tomato sauce should I put in this whatever? So I can use their experience. And if you think of what a recipe is, it really is someone else's experience is translated into words or a video these days.
Sure.
And I think we have that available to us. I could certainly make, I don't know, an apple pie from scratch and not look at any instructions and just make it up myself. And it might taste really great. Probably not, though, because I really don't know how much nutmeg, how much allspice, how much sugar. Should I put lemon in it? Should I put honey in it? Should the crust be an inch thick, half-inch thick, quarter-inch thick? Should I use graham cracker crumbs? There are a lot of variables in baking a simple thing like a pie that influence how it can taste. And if I were going to start, if I didn't have directions to make a pie, I would ask some people, hey, you ever made an apple pie? Yeah, okay. So what can you tell me? Preheat the oven. You got to preheat the oven. And it's got to be 400 degrees. Don't make it 450. You make 450, that sucker's going to burn. I'm telling you right now, you do not want it to be 450. What about 350? I never tried 350. Okay, well, maybe I'll go 350. We'll see. And there's a lot of trial and error. I don't think we give ourselves the ability in business to do what I do with some recipes. I'm notorious for reading the instructions on a recipe
and doing it your own way.
No, and then just going down the list of things that you're supposed to, okay, well, two things of flour and this, and not putting like the dry ingredients together in a bowl and the wet ingredients together in a bowl and getting all the wet ingredients right and then combining them. I am forever just
throwing it all in.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I can learn from others' experiences. Oh, wow, I should follow the recipe that way. Or I can learn from my own experience. I can't remember what I made a couple months ago, but I had to throw it away because it just was a glob. Yeah, it was just a mess. And I was all excited to make this recipe and probably spent $6 on ingredients. It was a gloppy mess. Right in the trash can. All right, well, that was fun. Do I have enough stuff to do it again? Nope. Okay, next. So there's a case where I didn't learn from experience. Right. And I think we tend to think that we're doing something new. You and I feed into this in a little bit, if I'm being honest, because we talk about carving your own unique pathway to success, as if no one's ever done this before. What no one has ever done is no one's ever done it potentially your way.
Correct.
Because you bring to it all your experience, all your knowledge, all your perspective. You come at it in a way that no one else could come at it. But you have the opportunity to learn from all the people that have gone for you. And it's not a one-to-one. It's not like I'm going to learn everything I need to do to run my business from you. You and I do very similar things, but you do it your way, I do it my way. There might be a day where I can learn from you, but there's also a day I can learn from someone else.
Mike? No, might. There might be a day.
Oh, might be a day. Yes. I was going to say, Mike who? I want to meet this person. But I think that's the struggle is feeling like we're doing it ourselves and doing it our way while gathering experience. Because at times I feel like, tell me how to do social media. Tell me the magic recipe for social media and I'll do it. But if I did the magic recipe for social media, I'm not sure I'd be me. I think I'd be, a poor impression of a TikTok influencer or a Facebook influencer. And I could argue maybe I am already. A poor impression, not a TikTok influencer, just so we're clear. Could have gone either way.
Yes, could have.
What are your thoughts on all that?
Well, I think we all have the opportunity to gain experience from watching others. we do it as kids growing up, right? We watch our parents, we see what they do, and we're like, maybe I'll do that. And sometimes there are things that we gain that our parents probably wish they hadn't shared with us, and other things that we gain that are of value and we tend to use throughout our lives. And I think unfortunately we many times forget how much we can gain by watching others. Um, and then we decide, well, I've got to do it my own way, um, and choose to do it from scratch, choose to do it without watching a YouTube video, choose to try something on our own, doing it our way. And, I think that's one of the values of talking with other people about the things that we want to do, whether it's a coach or a mentor or someone, is that you have the opportunity to gain from their experience by talking about it. Uh, and I think that adds the opportunity for you to enhance your experience before you try it. And you just try to go out and do it on your own. And for some reason, I don't know why, business people, especially small business people, feel like they have to do everything themselves, that they can't gain any knowledge, experience, or perspective from other people. Let me just go out and do it my way. I wonder why that is.
I don't know, but I was just thinking, if you look at some of the most successful small businesses, the franchises tend to do really well because they have a formula.
Sure.
It's kind of it's in a box.
There's a recipe.
There's a recipe, right? And so you can't, and they keep you constrained to that recipe.
Because they want consistency, right? They want that.
But they also know that there's a winning formula.
Right, because it's worked, which is interesting because it doesn't always. And it's interesting because I think it's funny sometimes how you see old buildings that you're like, that was a McDonald's.
Right.
And there was something in the recipe that they changed up.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it works all over the place, why couldn't they get it to work? Probably because they felt like, well, I know that this recipe has worked for others in other places, yet I am going to do it on my own because I know something they don't know, or I think I do.
Well, I had a coach a couple years ago. I was doing something and it was working really well on LinkedIn for a while. This was before COVID. And I said to her, I'm gonna really shift my focus here. I'm gonna see if I can do this on Facebook, the same approach. And she said to me, I'm sorry, what? I said, it worked. It worked on LinkedIn. I want to see if it works on Facebook. She's like, so let me understand this. You've got something that's working really well, and you want to stop doing where it works really well and try it somewhere where you don't know how it's going to work. I said, yeah, exactly. I just want to see. And she probably took her an hour to get me to realize that I was making life more difficult for myself than it needed to be. And I tend to do that a lot. I tend to want to make it my way. So if you told me, hey, bake the apple pie at 400 degrees and put 2 pounds of apples in there, cut them into nice little wedges about 1/8 of an inch thick, I could do it that way. I'd probably do it that way the first couple times. And I'd be like, I wonder what happens if I do 1/4 inch wedges. I wonder if I put more nutmeg in there, if it'll taste better. And after a while, you tell me, hey, don't use Granny Smith apples. I'd say, yeah, well, Tom told me not to do this. I'm gonna try it because it's got to be my way. And I think we have the opportunity to gain experience from watching others, and it doesn't have to be formalized experience. It can just be someone saying, hey, I made an apple pie the other day and I used Fuji apples, and they're just not the right consistency. And my apple, it just felt really flat. Oh, okay. Most people would say, whatever. I'm never going to bake an apple pie. Other people would say, oh, that's interesting knowledge that I can apply. Maybe it's not an apple pie where that's relevant to them. Maybe they're going to make apple strudel or apple sauce. And I think we tend to expect that the experience we have to gain has to be a one-to-one. you have to do the thing I'm doing exactly, or it doesn't work. Just like when we were talking yesterday about the spinning wheel. Well, I don't use the spinning wheel, so that's of no use to me.
Right.
I don't even know where I get a spinning wheel, so it's off the table. Never going to think about it. Versus you saying, and me saying, hey, wow, a loud noise really does engage people and brings them to the table in a way that some of the other things we did don't. Maybe there's something there. Maybe it's a video. Maybe it's a audio tape. Maybe it's something that attracts people's attention. And I think so often, I don't know about you, but when I'm coaching people, a lot of times I'm helping them take things where they mention something and they go, this person did this thing. Like, oh, that's interesting. How might that affect what you're doing? What can you take from that? And they go, well, I really can't. And then you press a little harder and probe a little bit, and they're like, oh, I didn't think about that. Okay, and I think we overlook those a lot. It's not intentional.
Sometimes I think it is.
Absolutely. I was thinking there are two people that I watch pretty closely that that I watch pretty closely. And some of the things that they do, I probably could learn more from if
you are open to it.
If I wasn't taking a bias into what I see them doing.
Right. And I think the opportunity is there. Doesn't mean we have to take everything that we see, observe. Just means that we have an opportunity if we do. We could have gone to that conference, worked that booth, and said, what are we going to learn from these hacks who are here? They don't know what they're doing. They're not pros at this. We believe we have what it is. And you miss opportunities to impact what's real for you by seeing what others are doing and saying, at least considering, does this have value? Is this something that I could incorporate into what I do? And I wonder how many other vendors at that conference walked around and looked at what other people were doing at their booths trying to see if that might have value for them.
I talked to one person about their booth, and she was telling me that they've done it this way. Like, they have a format for it. And she literally said, I have a sheet of paper. It tells me where to put everything. And like with military precision. She even said, we have a sheet of paper for a 4-foot table, a 5-foot table, and a 6-foot table. I said, what if there's an 8-foot table? She's like, I don't even want to think about that. We probably have to leave. And so the creativity of it was limited. And the interesting thing was, I found this out because I was helping them move their table out from the wall. And they're like, is that a foot? And I said, I don't know. And they said, well, it's got to be a foot. That's what the paperwork. I'm like, are there rules by the organizers? I didn't see that. Oh, wow, that's interesting. No, that's our company policy. So the creativity that was available to this person was gone. And what they were saying is, we have a lot of these and we do these all over, and we just want it standardized. And sometimes people won't follow it and they'll just go completely off script. So we have a very regimented process that assures that it's always the same. And my thought was, what if you're in a corner? What if the table's out among rows and there's no back wall? There are so many variables and we do it in business. Like, okay, this is my procedure. We're going to be open until 4:00. Well,
and there is some value in all of that.
School had a delay because of a situation, or it's parent night, and we know there are going to be a whole bunch of families that need food, but we close at 4. Even though if you were open that night from 4 to 6, you'd pack the place because everyone's trying to get a quick meal.
And yet there is some value in knowing and setting a routine and doing what you've always done. There's some value in that. It's just a balance of what becomes real for you. And I would imagine at some point, it'd be interesting if that person went back to the person who provided them the list and said, what happens if we have an 8-foot table?
No, this person was very clear that this is the way it is. that there wasn't even the opportunity, because my comment was I couldn't work in that. I would literally come to an event and turn the table 90 degrees just to be that person. Like, yeah, you wouldn't work at our firm. and that may be in part why I have my own business, because
Maybe.
sometimes those constraints are limiting to some of us. And so we go to the other extreme, which is I can do whatever I want. And there can be the trouble there.
Sure.
So I think what you said, my thing today, my one thing, my antidote would be what you said, that you've got to have that balance. It really has to be gaining experience from other people as you're watching them, but not wholeheartedly going, no, I'm never going to do that. Or that's perfect, I'm going to do exactly that. There's a sweet spot. Oh, before you give your one thing, let me jump in with some comments from Stephen. He's with us. He says, creativity knows no bounds. And he's talking about a book about a startup on $100 shoestring, which I can't remember who wrote the book, but it's a great book. And then I wish there was business history. What history without business history? Not sure what that means, but I do think that we can learn a lot from business history. I love, like, I have to get my copy of the Elon Musk biography, because I find that you can learn a lot of what to do and what not to do from these biographies of people like, who'd I read? Henry Ford and Carnegie.
Where's the Bob Graham biography?
That would be interesting. I haven't, I don't know if well, a biography would be done by someone else. It would be an
Autobiography, sure.
Yeah. I think I'd do a memoir, because then you have you don't have to be 1000% factual. Because I don't know that I could look back at things. I'd like to have the ability to offer insight about them, not just, in 1993 I did this, and here's it. I prefer in 1993 I did this thing and I gained this experience. Honestly, that would be the part to me that would be most intriguing, is to do some of that. In fact, if you look at the book I wrote, The Renegade Way, or what the hell was it? The Renegade Way. Yeah, there it is. I forgot the name of it. That's weird. There was a lot of lessons learned in there. If you look at that book, that wasn't the straight down the line, this is what it is. It was, here are some of the things I've observed, here are the things I've learned, this is what renegade means to me, this is what it means to us, this is how I see it. You could read that book and say, it's craziness. I can't believe this guy wrote the book. Or you could say, oh, I'll take this and take this. So do you have your one thing?
I do.
What do you got?
I think that one of the challenges to gaining experience by watching others is judgment.
Man, that was too easy.
Well, hold on. Can I finish?
You gonna work reckless then?
No. I am going to work in, though, right or wrong. In that judgment, we said, like you looked at, in some ways, I'm going to throw you under the bus. Sorry. You looked at that table. You looked at that table that they had.
I knew it was coming.
And the sheet, and you were like, that's wrong.
No, I didn't see the sheet. Oh, I was just told the sheet existed.
You were given the...
I wish I had seen the sheet. If I had seen the sheet, it would have made my day.
And I think what happens, right, is we look at that and you probably declared that as, this is completely wrong. Why would anyone ever do this? Which gives us which usually that judgment holds us back from being able to gain experience from it, right? As soon as we declare something right or wrong, what are we going to take? Are we going to take the time to then learn from it? And I think that's one of the challenges of right or wrong, is that they're so definite that we just usually tune out, or we're too tuned in. You could be like, oh my God, this is absolutely perfect. I love this. I have to do this.
Want to know what I learned from it?
What's that?
There is an opportunity to create something that helps people be more effective at booths like that. The fact that there had to be a set list of what to do suggests that people don't know what to do.
Sure.
Which creates the opportunity to help inform people on what to do.
Well,
so
here
I
I think
actually took that list kind of crystallized for me based on some other experiences I had. It's like, boy, I don't know if it's a book or a video or a course or something, but I walked away from it immediately going, this is an opportunity, because people are investing their time and their money into these things and they really don't know what to do because they don't teach it in college. That you go to that you gain experience from going to a trade show.
Yes.
And you observe it, and then you get to work a booth and you just mimic what everyone's done. And that isn't always the right, it just doesn't always work the way that you hoped it will.
Well, and
so
here's
I
the
took
challenge.
away from that list that was so constraining actually showed me that people need to be told how to do it more than I realized. And that was, I driving home, I was like, what would a video look like? What would a course look like? What would a book look like? How could I communicate the information I know, the experience I've gained from doing a lot of these in a way that people could access it and they wouldn't have to have that book or that page that describes it. You could have, I was in my head, I was like, I could literally set up 10 of those and have diagrams. If you're trying to do this, if you have a spinning wheel, do it this way. If you're going to have a big TV set, do it this way. So I walked away from that gaining a lot of experience and then thinking, how can I share my experience with other people? I didn't think it was wrong. It actually confirmed for me. It was like all the things I've been thinking about trade show booths for the last 5, 6, 7 years. It was like, oh, I can't believe I didn't think of this sooner. In fact, I was going to talk to you about it when we got a chance to chat. Like, hey, where does this fit into some of what we're doing, and where do you see this going?
Well, I think one of the things with it is, and one of the reasons why one of my questions after any event is, what might I do differently, rather than what will I do differently, is just because something didn't work for that setup and that audience doesn't necessarily mean it wouldn't work in a different setup with a different audience. And I think that's the challenge, is that the situations aren't always exactly the same. Though they usually at conferences, they aren't exactly the same because you have different people. Now, you could take that information of, okay, well, this is the type of audience that this conference gets. This is the space that I'm likely going to have again next year. And now you can say, okay, well, although there will be a completely different set of people, you might do the exact same thing and get the same results. You might do the exact same thing and get different results. It's all in that matter of trying to make a decision without judgment and being comfortable with the decision you've made. And then moving forward and being open to what else can I learn to be a part of that. I mean, I think, like you said, that there's so many options that you could run into on what your tabling effort might look like. That sure, people don't always know, what am I going to do? And when you get the curveball, you're thrown in a corner, you're in the middle of a huge room and you don't have a wall at your back. Then
or you're in the buffet area.
Right. How do you adjust to that and adapt?
And I think just like a recipe book, there are probably 1,000 ways to make an apple pie. I can go to this recipe and say, this is the recipe I'm going to use today. And it tastes the way I want, comes out the way I want, or doesn't. And then I can go to the next recipe book and say, oh, they use honey, not sugar. I'm going to try that. The book I would put together, the video series, whatever I would do, isn't the be all and end all. It's the starting point to just, okay, these are the foundational elements that you might want to think about.
Sure.
You might want to think about which way you're pointed. You might want to think about the noise level. You might want to think about traffic patterns. You might want to think about what your intent is. Some of those things that at the core, hey, if you're making apple pie, probably need a crust. You can buy it at the store. You can make it yourself. You can use graham cracker crust. You got plenty of options. Our recipe uses graham cracker crust. Doesn't mean you have to, but that's the way this recipe is going to go. And we're going to, do the little thing where it looks like bird's feet on the top. That's our choice. You don't have to do the bird's feet on the top. That's your call.
Yeah.
And now I've given the world my idea for something. So now they've gained my experience and someone could go out and do it ahead of me. But I don't think anyone's thought about it to the level I have. And if they want to do it, they do it their way.
Correct. Could be different. They could do it and they could do it differently.
I see we have another comment from Steven too. Steven's an idea guy. I got to tell you. First, when everyone arrives at an event, they get noise canceling headphones. On each channel is a different booth. So you could talk to them.
Sure.
So that's actually, that would be an interesting.
If they'd have to take them off to go to the sessions.
Correct. Unless you played the sessions over all channels.
Yeah, fair.
Someone's got to tell you and use their wisdom when the right time is to use trial and error or not. I think we all are using trial and error. Even if I created that, whatever that output would be, a book, let's say a book about how to do a trade show booth, I guarantee as soon as I wrote it, someone would read it and go, hey, you forgot my situation. Or I'm in this situation. And they'd say, this is the most horrible book in the world because you didn't talk about when I'm on the second level of a 3-level building and everyone's got, this. Oh, shoot, I forgot about 3-level buildings. And that's what we face when we go out and express our views on something.
Sure.
We have the opportunity for someone to say, hey, your experience doesn't align with my experience. Therefore, I'm not going to take your experience as valid. Someone told me the whole renegade way idea was just crazy. That makes no sense. I can't believe you want people to be renegades. Like, okay. No, seriously. I'm like,
feedback.
Right. I was like, thank you for taking the time to think through it.
And one of the things I would, as I look at Steven's comment,
mm-hmm.
I would modify it to be someone would tell you and use their wisdom when the time is to use trial and learning
mm-hmm.
rather than trial and error.
Right.
Because again, I don't think, is it an error when you learn something? If you take the time to learn. If you don't take the time to learn, then it's an error. If you take the time to start to understand it, you learn something from all the trials that you put out there.
I think that's the wisdom that you get as you get older, as you start to realize that all these experiences you've had can be applied to new situations. When you're young, you're just gathering experience. I can't put this in place because first time I've ever been in that situation. But as you get older, I find myself going, oh, this feels like this. Like when I was at that trade show and the person was talking about the sheath, I was remembering the first trade show I did and remembering that the person with me set up the table and said, do this, do this, do this, because they'd always done it that way. So without having a sheet of paper, it's very comforting. This is the way it goes. And then later in my career, I was doing some trade shows and I would set up the table different ways just to test it. Like I'm doing 20 of these over the course of the summer in different cities. So I might as well just do it different ways. So I would do it this way at this one, that way, L shape, T shape in this room. I'd stand in the front, I'd stand in the back. So I was doing a lot of trial and error, trial and learning. And I was learning a lot about it because I was focused on learning. And I think that's the other shift as I get older. My first reaction was, I can't believe they have to have a sheet of paper that explains to them how to do this booth. But then I stepped back and I said, how interesting that this company has invested the time and effort to get the consistency. It's almost like franchising.
Yeah.
Which isn't a bad thing. It's, hey, here it is. this is the way to go.
So it's real for them. They have
And
found value in it, and so they are doing it that way.
And the employees are not typically the types of employees that go out and do that kind of work. So it's also an acknowledgement that this is not their sweet spot.
Correct.
It's a fish out of water, so let me give them a little water so that they feel like they're comfortable.
Right.
So,
yes.
All right. No show tomorrow.
Correct.
So
correct.
sad.
Correct. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for being with us today. Stephen, thanks for your comments. If anyone else has a one thing or some thoughts or ideas that they would like to share, please, as you watch this on replay, feel free to put them in the comments. If you happen to be listening to the podcast where there is no place to comment, we would encourage you to join us in our Facebook group, Sculpt Your Business, From Chaos and Confusion to Confidence and Control, where you can share your thoughts and ideas there and gain from the wisdom and experience of others who share their thoughts and ideas. So we look forward to seeing you inside of that group. If not, we will see you Thursday morning, 7 a.m.-ish Eastern Time, for our next episode of Today's Antidote.
Hey, whatever you do, however you have to do it, embrace the renegading you. As you gain that experience, create your own unique pathway to success. You'll thank yourself every single day.
Yes. All right, everyone, go out and enjoy your day. We will see you soon.
Do you struggle with gaining experience as you're watching others? Do you go, that's right, that's wrong, oh, I'd never do that, or that's perfect, I wish I'd thought of it? If any of those things are things you've said to yourself, you need our Get Real, Get Results, Make More Money program. We're going to help you see how you can gain experience from what others have done and what you've done. And it's a game changer. It really does allow you to see things in ways that you hadn't seen them before. And it opens doors, opens your eyes, and opens up opportunities. If that sounds like something you want or need, you probably do need it. We all do, hint, hint. Then talk to Tom or Bob, direct message one of us, or go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. It's not as hard as you think to gain experience from yourself and others and move in the direction you want to. We'll show you how.